Anthem by Ayn Rand, Chapter 1. It is a sin to write this. It is a sin to think words no others think and put them down upon a paper no others are to see. It is base and evil. It is as if we were speaking alone to no ears but our own. And we know well that there is no transgression blacker than to do or think alone. We have broken the laws. The laws say that men may not write this unless the council of vocations bid them so. May we be forgiven. But this is not the only crime upon us. We have committed a greater crime, and for this crime there is no name. What punishment awaits us if it be discovered we not? For no such crime has come in the memory of men, and there are no laws to provide for it. It is dark here. The flame of the candle stands still in the air. Nothing moves. If you're for word alone. The laws say that none among men may be alone, ever at any time, for this is the great transgression and the root of all evil. But we have broken many laws, and now there is nothing here save our one body, and it is strange to see only two legs stretched out on the ground, and the wall before us the shadow of our one head. The walls are cracked, and water runs upon them in thin threads, without sound, black and glistening as blood. We stole the candle from the larder of the home of the sweet sweepers. We shall be sentenced to tenure in the palace of corrective detention if it be discovered. But this matters not. It matters only that the light is precious, and that we should not waste it to write when we need it for that work which is our crime. Nothing matters, save the work, our secret, our evil, our precious work. Still we must also write, for may the council have mercy. That is written on the iron bracelet which all men wear on their left wrists with their name upon it. We are 21 years old. We are 6 feet tall, and this is a burden, for there are not many men who are 6 feet tall. Ever the teachers and the leaders pointed to us and frowned and said, "There is evil in your bones," equality 72521, for your body is grown beyond the bodies of your brothers. But we cannot change our bones nor our body. We were born with a curse. It has always driven us to thoughts which are forbidden. It has always given us wishes which men may not wish. We know that we are evil, but there is no will in us and no power to resist it. This is our wonder and our secret fear, that we know and do not resist. We strive to be like all our brother men, for all men must be alike. Over the portals of the palace of the World Council there are words cut in the marble, which we repeat to ourselves whenever we are tempted. We are one and all in one. There are no men, but only the great We, one, indivisible, and forever. We repeat this to ourselves, but it helps us not. These words were cut long ago. There is green mold in the grooves of the letters and yellow streaks on the marble, which come from more years than men could count. And these words are the truth, for they are written on the palace of the World Council in the Thus it has been ever since the great rebirth, and farther back than that of no memory can reach. But we must never speak of the times before the great rebirth, else we are sentenced to 3 years in the palace of corrective detention. It is only the old ones who whisper about it in the evenings, in the home of the useless. They whisper many strange things, of the towers which rose to the sky in those unmentionable times, and of the wagons which moved without horses, and of the lights which burned without flame. But those times were evil, and those times passed away, when men saw the great truth, which is this, that all men are one, and there is no will save the will of all men together. All men are good and wise. It is only we, equality 72521, we alone, who are born with a curse, for we are not like our brothers, and as we look back upon our life, we see that it has ever been thus, and that it has brought us step by step to our last supreme transgression, our crime of crimes hidden here under the ground. We remember the home of infants where we lived till we were 5 years old, together with all the children of the city who had been born in the same year. The sleeping halls there were white, and clean and bare of all things save 100 beds. We were just like all our brothers then, save for the one transgression. We fought with our brothers. There are few offenses blacker than to fight with our brothers at any age and for any cause whatsoever. The council of the home told us so, and of all the children of that year we were locked in the cellar most often. When we were 5 years old, we were sent to the home of the students, where there are 10 wards for our 10 years of learning. Men must learn till they reach their 15th year. Then they Before we removed our garments, we stood in the great sleeping hall, and we raised our right arms, and we all said together with the 3 teachers at the head, "We are nothing. Mankind is all. By the grace of our brothers are we allowed our lives. We exist, though, by and for our brothers who are the state. Amen." Then we slept. The sleeping halls were white and clean and bare of all things save 100 beds. We, Equality 72521, were not happy in those years in the home of the students. It was not that the learning was too hard for us. It was that the learning was too easy. This is a great sin, to be born with a head which is too quick. It is not good to be different from our brothers, but it is evil to be superior to them. The teachers told us so, and they frowned when they looked upon us. So we fought against this curse. We tried to forget our lessons, but we always remembered. We tried not to understand what the teachers taught, but we always understood it before the teachers had spoken. We looked upon Union 53992, who were a pale boy with only half a brain, and we tried to say and do as they did, that we might be like them, like Union 53992, but somehow the teachers knew that we were not, and we when the councils are the voice of all justice, for they are the voice of all men. And if sometimes in the secret darkness of our heart we regret that which befall us on our 15th birthday, we know that it was through our own guilt. We had broken a law, for we had not paid heed to the words of our teachers. The teachers had said to us all, "Dare not choose in your minds the work you would like to do when you leave the home of the students. You shall do that which the Council of Vocations shall prescribe for you." For the Council of Vocations knows in its great wisdom where you are needed by your brother men, better than you can know in your unworthy little minds. And if you are not needed by your brother men, there is no reason for you to burden the earth with your bodies. We knew this well in the years of our childhood, but our curse broke our will. We were guilty, and we confess it here. We were guilty of the great transgression of preference. We preferred some work and some lessons to the others. We did not listen well to the history of all the councils elected since the great rebirth. But we loved the science of things. We wished to know. We wished to know about all the things which make the earth around us. We asked so many questions that the teachers forbade it. We think that there are mysteries in the sky and under the water and in the plants which grow. But the Council of Scholars has said that there are no mysteries, and the Council of Scholars knows all things. And we learned that from our teachers. We learned that the earth is flat and that to blow over the seas and push the sails of our great ships. We learned how to bleed men to cure them of all ailments. We loved the science of things, and in the darkness, in the secret hour, when we awoke in the night and there was no brother around us, but only their shapes in the beds and their snores, we closed our eyes and we held our lips shut, and we stopped our breath, that no shudder might let our brothers see or hear or guess, and then we thought that we wished to be sent home to the home of the scholars when our time would come. All the great modern inventions come from the home of the scholars, such as the newest one, which we found only 100 years ago, of how to make candles from wax and string. Also how to make glass, which is put in our windows to protect us from the rain. To find these things, the scholars must study the earth and learn from the rivers, from the sands, from the winds, and from the rocks. And if we went to the home of the scholars, we could learn from these also. We could ask questions of these, for they do not forbid questions, and questions give us no rest. We know not why our curse makes us seek what we know what, not what, ever and ever, but we cannot resist it. It whispers to us that there are great things on this earth of ours, and that we know them if we try, and that we must know them. We ask why must we know, but it has no answer to give us. We must know that we may know. So we wish to be sent to the house of the scholars. We wished it so that in the night, and we bit our arm to stop that other pain which we could in the morning. 4 men may wish nothing for themselves, and we were punished when the Council of Vocations came to give us our life mandates, which tell us who reach their 15th year what their work is to be for the rest of their days. The Council of Vocations came on the first day of spring, and they sat in the great hall. And we who were 15 and all the teachers came into the great hall. And the Council of Vocations sat on a high dais, and they had but 2 words to speak to each of the students. They called the student's name, and when the student stepped before them, one after another, the council said carpenter, or doctor, or cook, or leader. Then each student raised their right arm and said, "The will of our brothers be done." And they do not study any further. But if the council has said a leader, then those students go into the home of the leaders, which is the greatest house in the city, for it has 3 stories. And there they study for many years, so that it may become candidates and be elected to the city council and the state council and the world council by a free and general vote of all men. But we wish not to be a leader, even though it is a great honor. We wish to be a scholar. So we waited our turn in the great hall, and then we heard the Council of Vocations call our name. Equality 72521. We walked up to the dais, and our legs did not tremble when we looked up at the council. There were 5 members of the council, 3 of the male gender and 2 of the female. Their hair was white, and their faces were cracked as the clay of a dry riverbed. They were old. They seemed older than the marble of the temple of the World Council. They sat before us, and they did not move. And we saw no breath to stir the folds of their white togas. But we knew that they were alive, for a finger of the hand of the oldest rose, pointed to us, and fell down again. This was the only thing which moved, for the lips of the oldest did not move as they said, "Street sweeper." We felt the cords of our necks grow tight as our head rose higher to look upon the faces of the council, and we were happy. We knew that we had been guilty, but now we had a way to work for our brothers gladly and willingly, and we would erase our they did not know, but we knew. So we were happy and proud of ourselves and our victory over ourselves. We raised our right hand and we spoke, and our voice was the clearest, the steadiest voice in the hall that day, and we said, "The will of our brothers be done." And then we looked straight into the eyes of the council, but their eyes were as cold blue glass buttons. So we went into the house of the street sweepers. It is a grey house on a narrow street. There is a sundial in its court by which the council of the home can tell the hours of the day, and when to ring the bell. When the bell rings, we all arise from our beds. The sky is green and cold, and our windows to the east. A shadow on the sundial marks off a half hour while we dress and eat our breakfast in the dining hall, where there are 5 long tables with 20 clay plates and 20 clay cups on each table. Then we go to work in the streets of the city with our brooms and our rakes. In 5 hours, when the sun is high, we return to the home and we eat our midday meal, for which 1/2 hour is allowed. Then we go to work again. In 5 hours, the shadows are blue, not bright. Then the bell rings and we walk in a straight column to meet at the city halls for the social meeting. Other columns of men arrive from the homes of different trades. The candles are lit, and the councils of the different homes stand in a pulpit, and they speak to us of our duties and of our brother men. Then visiting leaders mount the pulpit, and they read to us the speeches which were made in the city council that day. for the city council represents all men and all men must know. Then we sing hymns, the hymn of brotherhood, and the hymn of equality, and the hymn of the collective spirit. The sky is a soggy purple when we return to the home. Then the bell rings and we walk in a straight column to the city theater for 3 hours of social recreation. There a play is shown upon the stage with 2 great choruses from the home of the actors, which speak and answer all together in 2 great voices. The plays are about toil and how good it is. Then we walk back to the home in a straight column. The sky is like a black sieve, pierced by silver drops that tremble, ready to burst through. The moths beat against the street lanterns. We go to our beds and we sleep till the bell rings again. The sleeping halls are clean and bare of all things save 100 beds. Then we lived each day of 4 years until 2 springs ago when our crime happened. Thus must all men live until they are 40. At 40 they are worn out. At 40 they are sent to the home of the useless where the old ones live. They sit in the sun in summer and they sit by the fire in winter. They do not speak often, for they are weary. The old ones know that they are soon to die. When a miracle happens and some live to be 45, they are the ancient ones, and children stare at them when passing by the home of the useless. Such is to be our life, as that of all our brothers and of all the brothers who came before us. Such would have been our life had we not committed our crime which changed all things for us. And it was our curse which drove us to our crime. We had been a good street sweeper, and like our brother street sweepers, save for our cursed wish to know. We looked too long at the stars at night and at the trees and the earth. And when we cleaned the yard of the home of the scholars, we gathered the glass vials, the pieces of metal, the dried bones which they had discarded. We wished to keep these things to study them, but we had no place to hide them. So we carried them to the city cesspool, and then we made the discovery. It was on a day of the spring before last. We street sweepers work in brigades of 3, and we were with Union 539992, they of the half-brain, and with International 48818. Now Union 5399 are a sickly lad, and sometimes they are stricken with convulsions when their mouth froths and their eyes turn white. But International 4 we could not look upon International 48818 and not smile in answer. For this they were not liked in the home of the students, as it is not proper to smile without reason. And also they were not liked because they took pieces of coal and they drew pictures upon the walls, and they were pictures which made men laugh. But it is our only brothers in the home of the artists who are permitted to draw pictures. So International 48818 were sent to the home of the street sweepers like ourselves. International 48818 and we are friends. This is an evil thing to say, for it is a transgression, the great transgression of preference to love any among men better than the others, since we must love all men and all men are our friends. So International 48818 and we have never spoken of it, but we know when we look into each other's eyes. And when we look thus without words, we both know other things also, strange things for which there are no words, and these things frighten us. So on that day of the spring before last, Union 5399 were stricken with convulsions on the edge of the city near the city theater. We left them to lie in the shade of the theater tent, and we went with International 48818 to finish our work. We came together to the great ravine before the theater. It is empty save for trees and weeds. Beyond the ravine is a plain, and beyond the plain there lies the uncharted forest, about which men must not think. We were gathering the papers and rags which the wind had blown from the theater when we saw an iron bar among the weeds. It was old and rusted by many rains. We pulled with all our strength. We scraped the earth around the bar. Of a sudden, the earth fell in before us, and we saw an old iron grill over a black hole. International 48818 stepped back. Then we pulled at the grill and it gave way. And then we saw iron rings as steps led, leading down into a shaft, into darkness without bottom. We shall go down, we said to International 48818. It is forbidden, they answered. We said, the council does not know of this hole, so it cannot be forbidden. And they answered, since the council does not know of this hole, there can be no law permitting to enter. And everything which is not permitted by law is forbidden. But we said, we shall go nonetheless. They were frightened, but they stood by and watched us go. We hung on the iron rings with our hands and our feet. We could see nothing below us, and above us the hole upon the sky grew smaller and smaller, till it came to be the size of a button. But still we went down. Then our feet touched the ground. We rubbed our eyes, for we could not see. Then our eyes became used to the darkness, but we could not believe what we saw. No men known to us could have built this place, nor the men known to our brothers who lived before us, and yet it was built by men. It was a great tunnel. Its walls were hard and smooth to the touch. It felt like stone, but it was not stone. On the ground there were long, thin tracks of iron, but it was not iron. It felt smooth and cold as glass. We knelt and we crawled forward, our hand groping along the iron line to see what it would lead. But there was an unbroken night ahead. Only the iron tracks glowed through it, straight and white, calling us to follow. And we could not follow, for we were losing the puddle of light behind us. So we turned and we crawled back, our hand on the iron line. And what was true in those times had been in all the wonders of those times. Hundreds upon hundreds of years ago, men knew secrets which we have lost, and we thought, this is a foul place. They are damned who touch the things of the unmentionable times. But our hand, which followed the track as we crawled, clung to the iron, as if it would not leave it, as if the skin of our hand were thirsty and begging of the metal stone's secret fluid, beating in its coldness. We returned to the earth. International 48818 looked upon us and stepped back. Equality 72521, they said. Your face is white. On them. They backed away as if they dared not. Then they smiled, but it was not a gay smile. It was lost and pleading. But still we could not speak. Then they said, we shall report our fine to the city council, and both of us will be rewarded. And then we spoke. Our voice was hard, and there was no mercy in our voice. We said, we shall not report our fine to the city hall. We shall not report it to any men. They raised their hands to their ears, for they never had heard such words as these. International 48818, we asked, will you report us to the council and see us lashed to death before your eyes? They stood straight of a sudden, and they answered, rather would we die. Then we said, keep silent. This place is ours. This place belongs to us, Equality 72521, and to no other men on earth. And if we surrender it, we shall surrender our life with it also. Then we saw that the eyes of International 48818 were full to the lids with tears they dared not drop. They answered, and their voice trembled so that their words lost all shape. The will of the council is above all things, for it is the will of our brothers, which is holy. But if you wish it so, we shall obey you. Rather shall we be all evil with you than good with all our brothers. May the council have together and back to silence. Thus did it come to pass that each night, when the stars are high and the street sweepers sweat in the city theater, we, Equality 72521, steal out and run through the darkness to our place. It is easy to leave the theater when the candles are blown and the actors come onto the stage. No eyes can see us as we crawl under our seat and under the cloth of the tent. Later, it is easy to steal through the shadows and fall in line next to International 48818 as the column leaves the theater. It is dark in the streets and there are no men about, for no men may walk through the city when they have no mission to walk there. Each night we run into the ravine, and we remove the stones. which we have piled upon the iron grill to hide it from men. Each night for 3 hours we are under the earth, alone. We have stolen candles from the home of the street sweepers, we have stolen flints and knives and paper, and we have brought them to this place. We have stolen glass vials and powders and acids from the home of the scholars. Now we sit in the tunnel for 3 hours each night and we study. We melt strange metals and we mix acids, and we cut open the bodies of the animals which we find in the city cesspool. We have built an oven of the bricks we gathered in the streets. We burn the wood we find in the ravine. The fire flickers in the oven and blue shadows dance upon the walls, and there is no sound in manuscripts are precious, for our brothers in the home of the clerks spend 1 year to copy single script in their clear handwriting. Manuscripts are rare, and they are kept in the home of the scholars. So we sit under the earth and we read the stolen scripts. 2 years have passed since we found this place, and in these 2 years we have learned more than we had learned in the 10 years of the home of the students. We have learned things which are not in the scripts. We have solved secrets of which the scholars have no knowledge. We have come to see how great is the unexplored, and many lifetimes will not bring us to the end of our quest. But we wish no end to our quest. We wish nothing save to be alone and to learn, and to feel as if with each day our sight were growing sharper than the hawk's and clearer than rock crystal. Strange are the ways of evil. We are false in our phases of our brothers. We are defying the will of our councils. We are alone of the thousands who walk this earth. We alone in this hour of doing a work which has no purpose save that we punishment, if it be discovered, is not for the human heart to ponder. Never, not in the memory of the ancient ones, ancients. Never have men done that which we are doing. And yet there is no shame in us and no regret. We say to ourselves that we are a wretch and a traitor, but we feel no burden upon our spirit and no fear in our heart. And it seems to us that our spirit is clear as a lake, troubled by no eyes save of the sun. And in our heart, strange are the ways of evil. In our heart, there is the first peace we have known in 20 years.